Hi everyone, my name's Natalie Lessier and I'm on the marketing team here at Surgical Specialties. So for everyone on the webinar today who may not be familiar with Surgical Specialties, we are the world's largest independent suture manufacturer. So we specialize by working with surgeons, distributors, and OEM partners and have manufacturing facilities around the world. So to level set on today's webinar, we put this together as we know practices are looking for ways to remain profitable as they navigate the challenges of the global pandemic. So now more than ever, it's imperative that they find cost-saving solutions for their practice. So during today's webinar, we want to provide you with some insight into how switching to Sharpoint Plus sutures can help you reduce your overall suture spend without having to compromise on performance and quality. On that note, I'm going to introduce our panelists, but in true COVID fashion, we are meeting virtually and respecting our social distancing. So we felt it was only fit to have this webinar remotely. So Christy, can you start by introducing yourself?
Yes, my name is Christy Kashee. I've been a nurse for 30 years. 18 of those years I've been in plastic surgery. Throughout the years, I've been in charge of ordering supplies and OR equipment. So budgeting has been a big part of that. And recently I have just transitioned to Tannin Plastic Surgery here in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yeah, my name is Sonia Patel. I am the territory manager for surgical specialties based out of North Carolina. I cover North Carolina and Virginia. I've been with the company almost 5 years now, and I spend the majority of my time working with dermatologists, plastic surgeons, and orthopedic surgeons.
So Christy, in your 30 years in nursing and 18 years of working in plastic surgery, what have you said has held you back in the past from wanting to switch sutures?
Well, implementing change is always a challenge. It's been a lot of hassle and a lot of work. And we have to meet the surgeon's expectations and the quality. Dr. Tannin had only ever used Ethicon sutures in the past, which are very expensive, and we tried to switch in the past, but never were fully satisfied. And the savings would be great, but performance would be subpar, and it just didn't make sense to put that into place.
Yeah, we hear that from customers all the time, and definitely seems like a problem a lot of practices encounter. So what really gave you the push or the motivation to trial Sharpoint Plus sutures specifically?
There were many factors, but the most important was the cost savings, of course. Is what drove her to want to learn more about Sharpoint Plus sutures. We've never heard of the brand before. And when we were introduced to our local rep, Sonia, she provided information on Sharpoint's high quality performance and savings, which made us feel comfortable moving forward.
Yeah, I actually remember when I met Christy. It was about 4 years ago, and it was just on a cold call. Plastic surgery is one of those industries where they go through a ton of sutures. So I stopped in hoping that they would be open to the things that I had to say. And luckily I had a welcome kit with me. So inside it had our catalog, it had a few samples, and I was able to introduce our product line and who we are and what we do. Christy was really receptive to everything. And in fact, it's interesting too, because you can order our welcome kit online. You don't have to get it from a rep right away. You can just go to sharpoint.com and order one yourself. And it's really easy to customize and comes in just a few days.
The welcome kit was so super easy to order off sharpoint.com. I was able to customize what sutures I placed in my kit, which was very helpful. It helped me convince our surgeon that Sharpoint Plus was worth at least evaluating.
That's great to hear. So Christy, you mentioned that the welcome kit helped you kick off the trialing process. Can you give us more insight into that?
We'd never seen anything like this from any other suture company before. The kit contained trial packs we ordered specifically catered to us. We ordered off the website. The catalog was inside. The box of surgical specialties of how to switch was easy. Everything was all self-contained in that one box.
Yeah, I really liked the kit because it gave the doctor everything that they needed to kick off a trial. Um, the box is really pretty. It's really professional. I'm really proud of the product. I'm really proud of the catalog. And in fact, when they decided to start a suture trial, there were a few sutures that they still needed to do a complete suture trial for the practice. So I was able to get them additional samples, some monocryl equivalents, some vicryl equivalents, PDSs. So they were able to have a full comprehensive suture trial.
Great. I'm glad the welcome kit really helped you, Christy, in kicking off that process. Can you give more insight into how the trial went with the surgeon?
The surgeon was so surprised she couldn't tell the difference between Ethicon and Sharpoint Plus sutures. Sonia checked in on us frequently over the next 2 weeks, which was so impressive, and the attention was great. In my 30 years of nursing, I've never met a suture rep, much less received the level of care that she provided to us.
And Christy,
Thanks, Christy.
You mentioned that the surgeons couldn't even notice a difference between Ethicon. Did they have any, preconceived notions going into this, or you mentioned they had a past experience switching previously?
I think that, she had tried it in the past and wasn't satisfied with what she had tried. And so I think this time made a difference in the fact that we had sutures that we actually used, and it came all together in one package. And Sonia's help and support throughout the whole process was a big proponent of us changing.
Yeah, I like to stop in and check on my customers. So during this trial, I touched base with Christy a couple of times over the course of a few weeks to make sure that the trial was going well, that they had all of the products that they needed to have a complete trial, to make sure that there were no problems so I could handle those if they arose, which luckily there were no problems. And I get to experience, watching my customers try our product and be really, really happy with it. And it makes my job really fun.
Great. So Chrissy, as you mentioned, and especially what I mentioned before, we know savings is so important right now, but like your surgeon and surgeons alike, they're not willing to compromise on quality. It's just not something that savings outweighs. So can you give us some insight into how Sharpoint Plus, what kind of savings Sharpoint Plus delivered for your practice?
We were actually able to lower our practice overall suture costs by over 20%. Being a plastic surgery office, sutures was one of our biggest variable costs. So we were able to save thousands, approximately $3,000 last year annually. For example, when we started ordering your Express Gut product, we were able to save $50 a box, which was especially helpful since Ethicon had discontinued this particular suture. So now not only are we saving, but you guys offer more needle options than Ethicon.
Yeah, we launched Express Gut about 6 months ago in response to Ethicon discontinuing their 6.0. They didn't release any information about this to their customers, so there was just an immediate need for the product and a huge hole in suture portfolio. So we came out with Express Gut. We launched the 5.0 and the 6.0 to start with on the PC1 needle. That's the one that everyone's familiar with, that Ethicon had. But since then, we've made a few changes, and we've added to our line using like P1 needles and P3 needles, and those have actually been really, really popular. Most surgeons are more familiar with those needles than the PC1, so they've been extremely popular.
And then Christy, I know you mentioned your practice is saving around $3,000 annually just from the switch from Express Gut. And I think it was switching your full portfolio to Sharpoint Plus, you're saving around 20% annually as well off your entire suture spend. What were you guys able to do with that level of savings?
We were actually able to add staff members. It provided Dr. Tina more time to be in the operating room, and it gave us an extra person to have in clinic.
Great.
That's pretty profound.
That sounds very impactful. Exactly what the value we strive to deliver here for Sharpoint, but also at Surgical Specialties. And then just going into the process of switching, we know it's a lot of hard work. And how would you say surgical specialties as a whole helped you take that burden off of you?
Well, Sonia handled everything for us. She listened to all of our concerns, our needs, finding the best suture matches, determining the easiest way to order. She pretty much did everything for us, so it made it very simple and an easy choice.
That's definitely the complaint I hear the most, and probably our biggest reason why people don't try our product is because switching and converting an entire suture closet is really overwhelming. So I like to try to do everything I can to get all of that work off the customer. If they can just take a picture of their suture cabinet and send to me, that's all the information I need to do a cross-reference for them. Then we make sure that they've got the sutures that they need for the trial. On the back end, I work with their distributor to make sure that they have the products in stock. And I really just want them to try the suture. That's all they should have to do in the whole process. I take care of everything else.
And I know when we talk about the switching process, we often first gravitate towards the conversion because that's the most overwhelming piece. But a huge aspect of switching is ordering. So Christy, can you give us an example or tell us about how
Sonia,
you switch?
Sure. Sonia explained that Surgical Specialties gives you the options to order directly, or you can order it through your own distributor. We chose to stay with our own distributor just because we've been with them for a long time. So that's how we handle that situation.
Yeah, I have a really good relationship with all of my distributor reps. They do a great job of supporting me. I do a great job of supporting them. So we got together, we talked about the sutures that they would need. We made sure they were in stock for her. We made sure pricing was correct. And so really all they had to do was complete the trial.
Great. So I think this is a great segue to go into a little Q&A session. So we had some questions come up from our attendees. So to start, as we have been discussing, the conversion process is a huge source of hesitation for a customer. Sonia, can you talk about, specifically in your role as a suture sales rep, how you help take the burden off of practice?
Sure. Well, Surgical Specialties has done a great job of trying to make the process as seamless as possible just through their product. So most people are familiar with Ethicon. So we've changed all of our needle names to reflect that of Ethicon, such as P1, P3, CT1. The industry standard with the color coding is, international. So if you see green, you know it's nylon. If you see purple, you know it's Vicryl. That makes it really easy. Our packaging matches. So we have racetrack packaging. So the sutures just slide right out of the package really easily. And something else is that we even tried to identify our codes as closely to Ethicons as possible. So for example, the Express Gut 6.0, the suture code is 1916G. And so we named ours B1916N. So just from the operations standpoint, we're already trying to do everything we can to make it as easy and convenient and not confusing at all for our customers. And then, like I said before, I love to go in and just take a picture of the suture cabinet. I can do everything with just that one picture. And honestly, the customer doesn't even notice anything at all when it comes to the conversion.
That's a huge relief for them. And then, Christy, previously when we were talking, you mentioned that your surgeon had tried switching before and had a negative experience. We get a lot of feedback from nurses like yourself who might be hesitant to refer another suture brand when they've had this past experience. What specifically about Sharpoint Plus really gave you the motivation to suggest this change?
Well, when Ethicon discontinued their fast gut code, that opened up the door for us to find another manufacturer to replace that. And Sharpoint Plus had that. So eventually this led to us switching over our entire closet. It made perfect sense since we were saving money already to just continue it and at least give it a try.
Yeah, and the other great thing about the Welcome Kit and our product line in general is that we have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. So if during the trial or even after the practice starts ordering our sutures, if they're not completely satisfied, we take care of it. The Welcome Kit's also a really cool way to enforce that or support that by getting the welcome kit at no commitment and no cost. So it's just a really simple, easy way to introduce yourself to the company and get started right away if you want.
Great. And then one of the other pieces we touched on is the ordering process. And Christy, I know your practice preferred to work with your distributor you've been working with for many years. We also have a lot of customers who prefer to go the direct route. Sonia, can you give some insight into the direct ordering process?
Sure. Like I said before, we do work with all of the major distributors, but we do have a direct option as well. We have an e-commerce site that's really easy to navigate. It makes it super easy for you to order online. You know, if customers want to order in a more traditional method, we can email orders in, you can fax them in, you can call them in. I even have a handful of customers that text me their orders, and I like that particularly because it keeps me involved in the process, and I'm able to make sure that everything happens the way it's supposed to and everything's timely, and you know, it makes me feel like I'm really doing something for my customers.
So the last question on here is for everyone attending this webinar, and Sonia, you're the perfect person to answer this question. How should people, whether they're ready to switch, they're just want to learn more about the brand or want to start their trial, how should they get started?
So the easiest way to do it is to go to sharpoint.com. So when you get to the website, you'll be able to pick the sutures that you want to trial. The welcome kit should come in about 2 days. In the interim, we will get your contact information and your local rep will reach out to you. So your local rep will be responsible for making sure that you have all the products that you need for a complete trial, supporting the process all the way through, helping you figure out the best way to order. You know, they pretty much do everything for you.
Great. So I think that pretty much sums up today's webinar. Thank you everyone who's watched and attended this, and obviously a special thank you to Christy and Sonia for being our distinguished panelists and answering all our questions. So before we leave, you know, Christy, Sonia, do you have any closing words? Christy, I'll hand it over to you first.
I'd highly recommend switching to surgical specialties at Sharpoint plus sutures. Anyone interested in lowering their cost and without sacrificing the performance, it makes perfect sense. It was so easy to switch and personalized service from your local rep. Sonia, I can't thank you enough, and I can't believe we didn't switch sooner. You can see my information on the slide if anyone wants my personal opinions or has any questions for me directly. I'll be glad to answer them. And thank you so much.
And on that note, just to, you know, thank you everyone again for attending, and you know, for everyone looking to get started. Honestly, if you just want to learn more, if you're ready to switch, if you want to explore with the free welcome kit, please visit sharpoint.com and kick off the process there. You'll, like Sonia said, you'll be connected with one of your local reps, and just start saving today. So thank you all for attending. Thank you, Sonia and Christy.
Thank you.
Thank you.